So here's a custom made Footswitch for the Mesa Boogie Royal Atlantic amplifier. So if you are familiar with the Mesa Boogie Royal Atlantic amplifier, either the combo or the head, it comes with a 2-button foot switch that lets you change channels. You can change between a clean channel, which is green, a blue low gain channel, and a red high gain channel. So I wanted some additional functions out of my Footswitch when I got this amp, so I decided to build this one, which lets me switch between green, blue, and red channels. Also can switch the amp's built-in reverb on and off, as well as switch any effects that are in the effects loop in and out with this switch. So it does a little bit more than the stock Footswitch does for these amps. So I just want to kind of show you how I have it set up. My signal chain in this pedal board goes from my guitar into this volume pedal, into this overdrive, and then into this custom built Footswitch. From here there is a loop that's got a send and return from right here, and in that loop are this fuzz pedal and this other overdrive. And then that loop can be assigned to either the clean channel or the red and blue channels with this switch here. So in the position it's in now, it is assigned to the clean channel. In this other position, it would be assigned to the overdrive channels. And then whatever's in that loop will only be in your signal chain when the channels that are selected with this switch are engaged. The effects loop has a send and return right here, so I just have this delay pedal and this reverb pedal, these two, in the effects loop. And so if that is engaged, these two are in the chain. If it's not engaged, they're not in the chain. And then from here, I have just one single cable carrying everything from the pedal board back to the amp. And this is really the reason, another reason why I wanted to build this. So when I was using this amp initially, I had one cable from my pedal board going to the input of my amp. I had a second cable from my Footswitch going to the back of the amp. I had a send from my effects loop on the back of the amp coming to my pedal board. I had a return from my pedal board going back to the back of the amp for the effects loop. And then I also wanted to be able to switch the reverb, the built-in reverb of the amp on and off, which would have meant 5 cables from my pedal board to my amp, back and forth, 5 cables, and it was just a mess. So the cool thing about this is that in one kind of snake cable, everything is carried back and forth between the amp and the pedal board that you need to. So it's a clean, quick, easy to set up. I've just got a power cable, a guitar cable, and then this one snake going back to the amp. So it's easy for gigs, quick setup. And then I'll show you on the back of the amp how that all breaks out. So on the back of the amp, inside the cabinet, there's a little breakout box. It's going to be hard to capture in the camera. It's kind of dark in here, but the other end of the cable that carries everything from the pedal board just plugs right in there and locks in. And then inside is this breakout box which routes all the various cables where they need to go. So pull back a little bit. I've got this cable routed up over the top of the amp to the input in the front. I've got the Footswitch cable routed to that jack. Got my send and return cables for the effects loop, and then up inside the amp, underneath here in kind of a hidden spot, is where the reverb Footswitch connects. So everything is nice and clean. I can leave everything plugged in just the way it is, including this cable that goes to the input. When I'm moving the amp around, I just throw the cover on top, leave everything plugged in, pop this out real quick, and either roll it up, throw it in the back, or put it on my pedal board and take it with me. So that's how it breaks out in the back of the amp, and I'll give you a little demo of how it works. Okay, so when the green light is on, the clean channel is engaged on the amp, and the red and blue lights, you can still have them on, and you can tell which of those two channels is selected, but the clean channel is still engaged. That was one other thing that I liked over the way the stock Footswitch works. On the stock Footswitch, when you engage the clean channel, these red and blue lights go off, and if you forget which one was engaged, when you jump back over, you might be on red when you meant to be on blue, or you might be the other way around. So I made this one so that those always stay on, and you could always tell which of those two channels was sort of staged to be switched over to. So as long as green is on, the clean channel's on. Reverb is foot switchable. So that can go on and off with that switch. And then the effects loop, so I'll turn this reverb and this delay pedal on. And so you can hear right now they're not engaged. If I switch that effects loop on, then they're engaged. So, and those are routed to the effects loop of the amp rather than to the front end of the amp. Okay, and then so for the channel specific loop, so I have this overdrive and this fuzz, and right now it's assigned only to the green channel. So if I turn this overdrive on, that's active as long as I'm on the green channel. If I switch over to the red or the blue channel, that's no longer active. So you can hear it doesn't make any difference whatever I do to that pedal if I'm on either the red or the blue channel. But if I'm on the green channel, then that pedal's in the chain. Same goes for this fuzz over here. So if I flick this switch, these pedals in that loop are now assigned only to the gain channel, so I could turn this fuzz on and get nothing, switch over to the gain channels, and that's only in the chain whenever I'm on the gain channels, if I have it set up like this. So I usually leave this on the clean channel, and the reason I did that is because it helps cut down on the tap dancing, which is kind of the whole idea with all this. You know, if you've ever had your handful of pedals on, you know, maybe a delay and a reverb and an overdrive, and you're on your clean channel and you're playing along, and then you want to switch your tone up without having to tap dance all those pedals off and switch the channel and everything. You can just, with one stomp, so now I've got the overdrive channel of the amp, no delay or reverb, and this overdrive is not in the chain. So anyway, that just beats having to tap 3 pedals off and then switch channels and, you know, take about 4 different stomps. And so yeah, that's really the idea behind it all. Does everything the stock Footswitch does and a whole bunch more. Cleans up the mess between your pedal board and your amp. And yeah, you can still put anything you want up front. So like this white overdrive is up front, and so it would apply into the chain no matter what channel I'm on. What have I done here? Oh, never mind, I got a oh, volume. That might be the issue, huh? So there, it's on my clean channel. So yeah, you can still put anything you want up front of the amp. You got your channel specific loop. You've got your effects loop, which is the amp's effects loop, not just a loop on your board. Your channel switching and the amp's reverb, the amp's built-in reverb that you can switch on and off. So that's pretty much it.